Welcome back. Today's story filled with drama and unexpected turns. Hit like, subscribe, and let's jump in.
I'm not sure why, but at the age of 49, I found myself sipping coffee at Brewhaven and feeling on top of the world. I was happy, prosperous, and married to a lovely woman. How could I lose all of this? Olivia, my lovely wife, was a few years younger than me at 42, but she didn't appear a day older, with long legs and constantly looking like $1,000,000. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and I have seen a lot. There were two sides to the coin, since Olivia could dress down if the circumstances called for her. She didn't mind getting filthy and sweaty, whether working in the yard or trekking. Olivia was always prepared to go. We drove near Glacier National Park, rode camels in the desert at daybreak, trekked the Antarctica Trail, and climbed mountains. We went backpacking in the Grand Canyon last year. This was all followed by a 5-star resort vacation. She had the most wonderful personality of anybody I'd ever met. She never met someone she couldn't charm, and she always knew just how to say what you wanted to hear. I've always believed her personality was worth a lot. When she was there was plenty of chatter. She had a degree and was the CPA and head of accounting at a prominent downtown hospital. She dealt with startling sums of money. The hospital did over $1.8 billion in business each year, all of which went via her office. She had a lot of responsibilities and often had to work late. I understood and knew that was simply part of the job. I never questioned her for working late and always tried to be supportive. We met in college. She was just getting started, and I was there taking a few classes to acquire my real estate license. For me, it was love at first sight, but I had to be quite convincing to get a date. I knew she had been in relationships and wasn't a virgin, but I never inquired about her past before meeting her since it wasn't relevant. We dated exclusively for about a year before having sex, which was prompted by a ring and marriage proposal. We had a beautiful wedding and an amazing honeymoon. We did not leave our room for 3 days, and only because we were exhausted. Sex with Olivia was incredible. She was up for anything that included us and was quite proactive. She wasn't the sort of girl who laid about doing nothing. Sex was always enjoyable, and it remains unique to this day. Olivia returned home after our honeymoon and continued with her degree plans, but she graduated a bit later due to the birth of our 2 darling children. I was earning a nice living, and we were able to employ a nanny so she could complete her degree. She completed her degree and was recruited almost immediately by a prominent accounting company in Denver, so our nanny remained with us until the children started school. She worked really hard, was promoted, was headhunted by another accounting company, and was eventually recruited at the hospital. She seems to be promoted every few years until becoming head of accounting. That was 5 years ago, and she has stayed content in that position ever since. I am a qualified real estate broker specialized in commercial property. I deal with 4 different agencies, but they always appear to have a good selection of properties not just in Denver, but also in Austin and Dallas. Because of this, I often have to travel between the 3 locations. Our children, Ethan and Emily, have been outstanding, making Olivia and me proud. Ethan has graduated from college and is now working in Seattle, while Emily is still in school in Denver and is planning a June wedding after earning her degree in May. I hope Emily will continue to work with me and support my company after her wedding. Emily has many of her mother's characteristics, which are very marketable. She will do well. Back in Brewhaven 2 years ago, my schedule was flexible since I didn't maintain regular hours unless I had an appointment. I try to contact Olivia about 4:30 every day to check when she will be home and to discuss our dinner plans, going out, ordering takeout, or cooking at home. Today was Friday, and Olivia and I always go out to dinner on Friday nights. We've been married for 21 years, and I can count on one hand the number of times we haven't gone out on Friday nights. If we were working, we just stopped what we were doing. We seldom carried work home, although we sometimes had to return on weekends to complete things, but Friday night was our time. I had arrived to Brewhaven a bit early to worry Olivia about supper, so I was going to have a cup of coffee instead. I ordered an Americano and sipped it while sitting on a stool in front of the store's plate glass window. Across the street was the hospital, and to my left was a massive parking garage. The hospital was linked to the parking garage by a pedestrian bridge high above the road. There were 5 exits from the garage and 2 lanes entering the road that were reserved exclusively for those departing the garage. I wasn't paying close attention, but I did watch a massive Chrysler 300 depart the garage and come to a halt at a traffic signal just in front of Brewhaven. What drew my notice was Olivia's presence in the passenger seat. I felt it was strange since she normally informs me of any meetings outside of the hospital. I took up the phone and dialed Olivia's office, asking to speak with her, but was informed she had departed for the day. So I phoned Olivia. She answered the third ring. Olivia, where are you? She responded, I'm in my office, snowed under with an important report that has to be finished. I'm in Brewhaven and have come into town to celebrate a big sale and take you to San Diego for dinner at our favorite restaurant. Afterwards, we can spend the night there. Her sole reaction was, I can't tonight, but can I get a rain check? And, are you in Brewhaven across from the hospital? I thought you were in Austin. I said, yes, I'm in Brewhaven and didn't have to travel today. I was curious whether she knew I had seen her. Can I bring up a cup of your favorite coffee along with a salad so you can get on with your report? She quickly mumbled something I didn't hear before saying, one of the girls has left me a sandwich and a soft drink. Olivia continued, pick something up on the way home for yourself, and I'll be there as soon as I can. I checked my phone app and saw that their automobile had arrived at a well-known address, the Hilton Resort. I said, are you in your office now? She responded, I will see you at home. If you don't want my company, I can get the work finished quicker on my own. I said, okay, see you later, and hung up. I believed Olivia and I had a fairy tale existence. We had plenty of money. We both drove luxury automobiles, which I bought for. We resided in a beautiful, sprawling ranch-style home on 5 acres. The yard was properly groomed and cared for, and it resembled a park rather than a house. Outside of work, we were always together. To an outsider, we were clearly in love and dedicated to one another. Olivia reserved every dance for me, never letting another guy dance with her, even when I promised her it was okay. She just said that she did not want another man's hands on her. She never given me any cause to be envious. I never believed Olivia would be unfaithful. The concept never crossed my mind. I thought our sex life was great. We were never scared to explore and attempt new things as long as no one else was around. After we married, we had sex every day, sometimes twice. After the children arrived, we reduced our daily intercourse to 2 or 3 times per week when we had the chance. After Emily departed, we attempted to have sex every day. I was a one-woman guy, and Olivia understood my emotions about cheating. I was in my mid-50s and began to have trouble attaining climax. I saw my doctor and was given some little blue pills, but I was still unable to recreate the sex we enjoyed in our early days. Olivia had no troubles and seemed to be constantly ready to go. I attempted to persuade Olivia to have sex every day, but she stated if it was difficult for me, she would go without. She didn't want sex until I wanted it, therefore we had sex 3 times a week. I tried really hard to make Olivia happy. At times, I felt sorry for Olivia sexually, but she seemed happy and comfortable. I never imagined that if Olivia didn't have enough at home, she'd find it elsewhere. I sat there for many minutes, feeling emotionally drained. I felt like my whole universe had collapsed around me. Several individuals inquired whether I was okay. I finally got up and went home. I was sitting in the dark when Olivia came home. Why are you sitting in the dark? She inquired. I've had a very bad day, and am upset. Okay, what's your next question? We never became angry at one another, but I felt justified. When you called, you said you were excited over closing on a large sale, so why are you now upset? Because I've recently learned some very disturbing news. What could be so bad? If you don't know, then you have no reason to ask. I stood up, poured a huge brandy, and went into the den to sit down. I missed supper, so the brandy went right to my head. I sat in the den for about 30 minutes before getting up and going to the guest bedroom to sleep. I spent the whole night rolling and tumbling. I could not get over what she had done to our marriage, but what if it wasn't the first time? How long had she betrayed me? One thing is for certain, I would not allow it. Now let's look at it from Olivia's viewpoint. Michael and I have had a fairy tale wedding. We have never been what I would call impoverished. We've been quite blessed, as we've brought 2 great children into this world, and they've both had every chance to achieve. I'm glad to report they took advantage of the chance. Michael and I have always shared everything and made the most of any chance to travel and seek new experiences, whether it was roughing it hiking or staying at a 5-star resort. We've always had fun and look forward to the next experience. We both seem younger than our ages. Michael has a few additional pounds, but his face looks as youthful as it was 21 years ago. Aging has been beneficial to Michael. Sex, once vivid and exhilarating, has become a touch boring for me. Michael has issues, and even with his blue medications, he struggles with orgasms. He has visited his doctor, who has just diagnosed it as an age condition. He advised Michael join a gym and do more exercise, which may help. Michael, bless his heart, does his best to keep me happy. He strives to satisfy me every day. Finally, I informed him that if twice a week was good for him, it would also be good for me. Derek Peterson, my new manager at work, came on board around 2 years ago. I'm the head of accounting, and I supervise multiple accountants, but my supervisor is one of 4 hospital administrators, and my division reports to him. Andrew began flirting with me the day he started work. At first, I was pleased that someone over 10 years younger than me would find me beautiful for my age. He was often commenting on how I dressed and appeared to agree with everything I said. His flirtation soon became more expressive, and there were some minor touches. I attempted to brush them off, eventually telling him that, although I was pleased, I was happily married and did not want his attention. Andrew eventually backed off for a few months. 3 months ago, he approached me in my workplace after work. Fortunately, everyone had gone home for the night. Andrew was extremely direct and questioned why I rejected his approaches. I just informed him that I was happily married and did not want to start something that might cause problems in my marriage. Andrew was really smooth. He went on, "You look like a frustrated wife to me. I bet your husband can't even get a good hard-on. When was the last time you really got sex?" I honestly couldn't recall and didn't respond. I told him I didn't want to hear trash talk and got up to open the door and send him out when he grabbed me. I tried pushing him away, but he was so much bigger and stronger than me that I couldn't move him. He took both of my hands in one of his and kissed me. The kiss turned into a lot of caressing, and he ultimately delivered me a spectacular climax. The following few seconds were uncomfortable, but I was able to adjust my clothing, and Andrew merely asked when we might do it again. I'm not sure what I was thinking when I said, "My husband will be out of town on Wednesday, so maybe after work that day." That was the beginning of my affair. Did I feel cheated? Of course, I did. Did I feel guilty? My sorrow and regret were overwhelming, particularly when I saw Michael. But what dominated everything was my want to get pounded like that again. Not the peaceful, safe, loving sex Michael and I had, but the harsh, domineering, even painful sex Andrew provided. It simply blew my mind. We maintained our secret romance without incident until last Friday. We had been extremely careful, sex at my office after work or, if Michael was abroad, a hotel stay. I was never late going home, and I never changed my outfit. I've always dressed professionally, but in seductive undergarments. I always wear heels. Michael was scheduled to remain in Austin until late Friday night, but it seems he did not attend at all. And then, in the afternoon, as Andrew and I were on our way to the Hilton Resort, Michael phoned and offered to drive me to San Diego for a special supper. I begged him to let me go, but I had a feeling he had figured it out. However, I did not want to accept it. I now see that I should have gone with Michael. When I arrived home, freshly screwed, and am sure it showed on my face, Michael was sitting in the dark, furious. He wouldn't tell me what was happening. This should have sent daggers my way. We discussed everything, except that I was having an affair. Michael ultimately drank a bottle of brandy and fell asleep in the guest bedroom. Now let's look at it from Michael's viewpoint. Finally, I awoke following a restless night of little sleep. I took a shower and went into the kitchen for coffee. Olivia sat at the table and spoke first. "Good morning. How did you sleep in the spare bedroom?" "I slept awful, if you must know. I don't think I even got an hour's sleep. Can you share what's troubling you so much?" I glanced at her as if I was utterly perplexed by such a silly question. Before I answered, "Olivia, is there anything you would like to share with me?" "What do you mean? Are you angry because I had to work on a Friday night and we didn't go out to dinner? When did work become more important than family? We've always done whatever we were doing on Friday night and had a night out. Maybe work has become more fun than spending time with me." "Who is he?" I inquired. She gave me a perplexed look and clearly did not want to respond. She grew fidgety and stood up to make a fresh pot of coffee, attempting to escape the subject. "I saw you. I even called your office and was told you were gone for the day. I know you went to the Hilton Resort. Game over. How could you do such a thing to us? To me? To our family? I thought we meant more to each other than some cheap affair. I'm sorry. I never meant for this to happen. I have been fighting it for over a year, and in the end, I was weak. My body responded, and I became lost. His name is Derek Peterson, my boss. We tried to be careful so you would never find out. I am so deeply sorry. First of all, you well know my feelings on infidelity. Our marriage is over. I have never in my life been so hurt as I am now. My heart feels like someone stuck a dagger in it. I have been betrayed by my best friend, my lover, my soulmate, my wife. We have always shared everything. Never in my wildest dreams did I think this would ever happen. At this point, I'm not sure I want to keep living. If we didn't have children, I know which road I'd take. Olivia was weeping hard at this point. She noticed my suffering, but I didn't need her sympathy. Finally, she regained control and said, "Is there anything I can do to repair our marriage?" The easy response is no, but I'm not lucid right now and can't think through this. However, there may be things you may do to reclaim your dignity. First and foremost, the affair must stop immediately. You should file a sexual harassment claim against your partner since it looks he took advantage of you. Both of you may lose your jobs as a result of this, but it is the correct course of action. Finally, you must resign from your position before filing a lawsuit against the institution. You're a CPA and will have no trouble landing a nice job. She paused for a time. I'm not sure I could agree to all that. I stood up to leave the kitchen. Where are you going? I am leaving. I'll let you know where I'm staying. I'll visit a lawyer in the morning and try not to make it any more agonizing than necessary. However, you and your sweetheart will not come away unharmed. Mark my words on that. I will not be a cuckold. I'll contact the kids this afternoon and tell them their mother is a cheating whore. Please leave the kids out of this. Aren't they also part of this family? Yes, but I don't want them to be hurt by this. It's too late to worry about it. They're adults, and they should know. You're merely concerned about your popularity. With that stated, I went and packed 2 luggage, got my work materials, and packed the vehicle. When I returned to the kitchen, Olivia was still weeping at the table. Olivia, please do all I asked, and if you want to speak about our marriage, I'll be pleased to sit down with you. I'll let you know where I'm staying, I said, and then I left. I wondered if I would ever step foot in my house again, so I went to a local Holiday Inn and had a delicious breakfast. I inquired about a weekly professional rate and made reservations for 2 weeks, and I texted Olivia to let her know where I was staying. I wondered why I did that, but old habits are difficult to break. The following day was Sunday, and I remained in my room all day pondering and essentially feeling sorry for myself. I knew I wanted to talk to my children, so I texted them that I needed to speak with both of them immediately with some important but horrible news, and they both responded, "Call now." I broke the sad news to them that their mother had cheated and had been having an affair for a few months. They were heartbroken, but promised me their support. I told them I had moved out and was staying at the Holiday Inn near our old house. We finally said goodbye. Olivia phoned within minutes. "How could you turn our children against me?" I did not turn our children against you. Your actions have caused harm to our children, and you are hearing this. I promised you I would inform them. I will not notify your friends or parents, that will be your responsibility. And I'm sure you can come up with a bogus reason why I left you. You should be conscious, however, that the truth always comes out in the end. I had just hung up the phone with her when there was a knock at the door. It was my daughter, Emily, who came in and held me, and we both had a good cry together. She knew my hurt and pain, and I was glad to have someone to share it with. We talked for over an hour, and she wanted every detail, which, unfortunately, I didn't know much about. Emily then said she was going to see her mother. About 2 hours later, Emily texted me that I needed to speak to Olivia since there was a lot more to the tale than I knew. I hesitantly responded, "Okay," and contacted Olivia. "I know Emily came to visit you, and she requested me to phone you and chat." I told her I would, so let us discuss. What I'm about to tell will hurt. Are you sure you want to hear this? Yes. You've told Emily, and she evidently feels I should know as well, so let's hear it. Olivia then told me the entire story of her affair, not willing at first, but an active participant since the story began. It did hurt. The good-looking creep is over 10 years younger than Olivia, over 15 years younger than me, and he was way more dominant in bed than I have ever been. I was going to burn his buttocks for screwing up my marriage. It's no surprise Olivia became addicted to sex with him. My lawyer, Victor Hayes, is a personal friend, so I contacted him at home and described what was going on. He advised to come to his office first thing the following day. Mark, a friend at home but always professional in the office, and I knew he charged accordingly, even to friends. I told him what I wanted to do with Olivia: file for divorce, have it served, and then sit on it for 90 days. I wanted action taken against her lover immediately, and I wanted him sued for sexual harassment, as well as the hospital. The hospital should have some morality clauses, especially when upper-level management takes advantage of subordinates. I asked Mark if there was any way that this creep's wife could accidentally find out today that he had been having an affair. Mark, the crafty lawyer that he is, called Derek Peterson's home and spoke with the wife, posing as an accountant from the Hilton Resort, inquiring about several credit card charges over the past 3 months and explaining that there was a corporate rate that would save Andrew a lot of money in the future. Andrew's wife took all of 10 seconds to figure. Olivia called me about an hour later. Why have you already brought disgrace to Andrew's family? Are you at work? Have you accepted any of my proposals? Yes, I am at work, and am still thinking about your proposals. Wrong answer. I've already visited Mark and asked him to hold off on the divorce papers until I know what you're going to do. Now I understand. I wish you have a fantastic life without waiting for an answer. I picked up the phone, feeling hollow, as my final hope for atonement vanished into the breeze. Olivia was unwilling to do anything I proposed. I called Mark and told him to serve Olivia and proceed as soon as possible. I went to the bank and split our accounts 50-50ths. We had always had a joint account with our paychecks going into that account, and we had never tried to separate our money into his and hers. I opened a new account in my name only and ordered new credit cards. I called into work and had my accounts transferred to one of the other brokers. I took 30 the next day. Olivia was served and charged with adultery. Derek Peterson was sued, as was the hospital. I wasn't sure if I had a charge against Andrew or the hospital, but I felt better. I informed everyone who needed to know that I would be gone for 30 days. I bought some beachwear and a good pair of now. Let's look at it from Olivia's point of view. After Michael left, I cried all afternoon, went to bed, and just lay there crying, wondering how the hell I allowed myself to get my life in such a mess. On Sunday afternoon, my children called and gave me a hard time, and I felt completely humiliated and wanted to blame Michael for telling them, but I realized I was the one who had let the family down. Emily came over that evening and wanted to know every detail. How do you tell your children that you've had mind-blowing sex but not with their father? I told her how I resisted for so long before he overpowered me and then I became a willing participant. Emily asked if I told Michael the man took advantage, and I simply said no. Michael called later, and I had to repeat everything to him. It was more humiliating to tell your husband about your lover than to tell Emily. The next day, I got up as usual and went to work. I didn't know what to do because of Michael's proposals. I didn't have a problem filing a sexual harassment charge against Andrew, but I didn't want to lose my job. I had forgotten that Michael had told me that if the news got out, my job would be history. I wish I was served on Tuesday afternoon, and Andrew phoned me, enraged. Someone had informed his wife about our affair, and now he was being sued by Michael for sexual harassment. Andrew is a huge, strong guy, and even on the phone, I felt terrified. I called Michael to ask why he was doing all this to Andrew, and Michael wanted to know if I had done any of the things he had requested. I told him I was still thinking about them, and he remarked angrily and hung up. Maybe for the first time, I realized Michael was pushing the divorce through. Maybe I was naive, but I believed Michael would eventually forgive me. After being served, I immediately phoned the hospital's CEO and begged to see him before he departed for the day. He answered, "Come up now, and I will clear my immediate schedule." Andrew had already been fired, and I told him that I didn't want to quit but felt compelled to do so in light of the circumstances. I described Andrew's success in luring me into the affair in some graphic detail. I returned to my office, packed my belongings, and left for the last time. Within 4 days, I had gone from being a happy, working wife to an unemployed, sad woman. I had lost my husband, my career, and, while it pained to admit it, my life had come apart. Nathan contacted me that night, stating his wife had booted him out of the home and he wanted to know if he could move in with me. I told him, no way. Furthermore, I would not mind if I never saw him again. I contacted Emily and asked if she could spend a few days with me since I didn't want to be alone. She had just completed her last semester of college and was free. Emily was aware of Michael's requests and questioned, "Does Dad know that you've cooperated with 2 of them?" "No, Dad doesn't know because I haven't filed a sexual harassment suit against my lover," I revealed. The romance was done, but I had no idea how to file the complaint, and our lawyer buddy was defending Michael. Emily added, "My fiancé has just passed his bar exams, so let's get him to represent you." Emily's fiancé was smart, and he spent no time in bringing the sexual harassment action. Then he suggested that since Andrew was my supervisor, we should also file against the hospital, which he did. She then advised phoning Michael and explaining why it took so long to finish his proposals. The call went to voicemail, and I contacted his room at the Holiday Inn, but was informed he had checked out. After a couple of weeks, Andrew called again and asked to meet with me. I agreed to meet him at a local diner, where we drank coffee and commiserated. Andrew was staying in a hotel behind the diner, and before I knew it, we were in bed. We stayed in bed all afternoon, and I was sure I would be sore, but I was going home to an empty house, so that didn't matter. We agreed to meet as often as possible, but I expected confidentiality. I had begun to visit a counselor, but when Andrew and I resumed having sex, I used the counselor as an excuse to see Andrew. I didn't love him, but the sex was mind-blowing. Michael just disappeared. Let's take a look at Jamaica from Michael's point of view. I wanted to get more exercise, so I ran on the beach every morning. I could only run a short distance at first, but within 2 weeks, I was running 3 miles. My excess weight seemed to melt away, and I became a suntanned beach bum who enjoyed every minute of it. After much deliberation, I put down a deposit on a 2-bedroom bungalow on the beach, which was just a short walk from shops and restaurants. Even after splitting our accounts, I was still left with a sizable sum and no bills, as well as money from the family home, which would have to be sold. I was disconnected from the world, which was a welcome change for a man who lived from one stress to the next. I knew I had to return to Denver to finalize the legal proceedings, and while I didn't expect anything from the lawsuits, I had to check in and see what was going on. I needed to close bank accounts, transfer money, and see my kids, especially since Emily was getting married in a few days. My first call was to Emily, who answered on the first ring. "Dad, I'm so happy to hear from you. Where have you been?" "I've become a beach bum, and that will be my new occupation. Anyway, I've returned for your wedding. Is it going to be scheduled?" "Yes, it is 1 week from Saturday, and everything is planned. Don't worry. Mom has been a great assistant since she stopped her work." That caught my interest. "Mom, have you quit?" "Dad, she resigned on the first Tuesday afternoon after you left her with that weirdo. The hospital was sued on Wednesday. She would have done so on Monday if she had been able to locate an appropriate counsel to defend her." I was becoming uneasy. "Why didn't she tell me? Did you have mobile phone service or email?" "She has tried so many times to inform you, but we have given up." I had no idea how to react, so I gave the shortest response first. No, there was no mobile phone service or email where I was. In fact, I have just switched on my mobile phone for the first time. I realize there are many SMS and emails. Emily said, "Mom has also been visiting a counselor twice a week for the last 4 weeks. She has made concerted efforts to return to her former self. I've spent the most of my time with her. She's a mess and really needs someone around her. I understand what you're saying, but my marriage to your mother is history. I'm not sure whether I can ever trust her. Furthermore, she had the finest sex with her partner. Why would she want to come back to me if the best I have to give is excellent for me but not for her? Mom loves you, and I don't believe the sex thing is a problem anymore. I'll speak to your mother, maybe today, but I'm not guaranteeing anything. I believe our marriage is irreparable. However, I vow that we will be a couple at your wedding. I don't want anything to ruin my baby's special day." After the phone call, I went to Mark's office to see what was going on with the legal actions we had taken. The divorce was proceeding, and within 30 days, the judge would hear the case and announce the divorce. Derek Peterson had been fired, and he also had a divorce action pending. His life was next to worthless now, and the hospital was denying any responsibility. Mark reported that Olivia had cases against both, and he believed I instructed him to dismiss our lawsuit against Andrew but leave the hospital matter open to see what they were going to do. The first hearing was coming in 2 weeks. I drove up to my house for the first time in several weeks, and I told the office manager about my retirement plans and that I wouldn't be returning. I wasn't rich, but living in Jamaica was cheap, and I could do cheap for a long time. We still had the proceeds from the sale of our house, which I needed to discuss with Olivia, who was still living there. Olivia opened the front door before I exited the vehicle. "Hello, Nathan. You look great and tan. You, too, have lost weight." "Yes, the previous 4 weeks have been consistent with my expectations. None of my old clothes fit anymore." We settled into the kitchen, and Olivia prepared a new pot of coffee. "We have a lot to discuss, and I guess I don't know where to start," I said. "You know our divorce will be finalized in 30 days. We will need to split the land, which includes the dwelling. What do you intend to do about the house?" "I haven't actually thought that far. I suppose we might sell it, but I'd hate to see it leave. We've lived here practically since we married. Do you want to buy out my stake and remain here?" "No, the home is too large for just one person, and there are too many memories, mostly positive ones. I can't remain here, therefore I suppose we should list it. Do you know any good realtors?" "I'm sure I can find a realtor, but I can't sell our house since I just handed in my retirement papers." After Emily's wedding, he'll return to Jamaica to reside. I'm in my element there, no mobile phone service, no email. I like living a completely unconnected existence. I can work out and eat well on a daily basis. I was able to not only become healthy, but also drop all of the weight I had been striving to lose for so long. These are my plans. What's yours? I do not have any plans. I'm simply surviving day to day, trying to forget how I ruined our marriage. I will be all right. I'll locate an apartment near Emily, and I'll ultimately return to work. I'm not in a rush to return to work, but my part of our money will eventually run out. How can you afford to retire while living in Jamaica? It's inexpensive, but it's not free. It is a simple existence, and I do not need any of the frills we had here. I can live there without touching my money or having to sell investments. I will be all right. This home is expected to sell for $900,000, so we'll have that to share as well. Did you see Emily? No, but I spoke with her on the phone for over an hour this morning and made her a promise, which I hope you can help me fulfill. I promised Emily we would attend her wedding as a couple. I don't want anything to mar her big day. Do you know when Michael will travel in for the wedding? He comes next Wednesday, and I had intended to see him at the airport. Unless you want to. I was hoping he would remain at our place. I'd want to travel to the airport with you to meet Michael. We haven't seen him in almost a year, maybe we should see him together. I'd enjoy that. This is a large home. Do you want to stay here as well? It would be good to have everyone back in the home, and we'll be hosting the celebration here after the ceremony. The massive marquee will go up on Monday. The caterers have all of the food and beverages ready to go. And so, that was how it went. Olivia and I seemed to pick up just like we did before the affair. We could talk without getting angry and were completely rational with each other. We worked tirelessly together arranging for Emily's wedding, and having Michael Jr. there to help was a blessing. The night before her wedding, Emily stayed in the house with all of us. We all felt the tension, but having our family together one more time was very special. We all knew the house. Emily's wedding went off without a hitch. She was so beautiful, and I felt like I had lost my daughter. I knew her husband was quite a catch, but silently, I hoped he realized the real catch was Emily. Fresh flowers were everywhere, and of course, champagne flowed all night. We had one of the leading bands from Denver, and there was dancing until the early hours of Sunday. Olivia and I danced almost all night. I promised Emily that we would be a couple, and I don't think we disappointed. Olivia and I shared many of the dances, and I found my body responding to her as it always did. We finally saw off the last of the partygoers and staggered back to the house, Olivia having to remove her heels because her feet had seen one too many dances. I'm not sure who held who up, but we staggered into the master bedroom together. Olivia said, "We've been a couple all night, and I can't remember the last time I had this much fun. Please stay with me tonight." I was inebriated and overwhelmed, and I responded, "I can't recall ever having such a terrific time. If we sleep in the same bed, we'll be sharing more than just the bed. Please, just one more for the sake of nostalgia." Olivia realized something was wrong and rushed to my side. "What is wrong, Michael?" "Olivia, are you still sleeping with Andrew?" She remained mute and stunned. "So, I was correct. You are still sleeping with him." I lost control of myself. "Please forgive me. Do not leave me. Why should I stay? For what? For you to rub your lover's tool into my face? Sorry, Olivia, I still have a spine, and I will not take sloppy seconds. I'm sorry, Olivia, but I can't do it. I know you are still dating someone, but I am done. I'm not sure if I can love you anymore." I left Olivia weeping, grabbed my suitcase, and went to the Holiday Inn. My mobile phone rang the following morning, and it was my son, Michael Jr. "Dad, tell me what you said to Mom last night. She wept all night, and now she's a complete disaster. It's strange talking to you, but Mom volunteered to have sex with me last night, but she's still having sex with someone person. I'm finished. I almost gave her another chance, but now I'm done. I'm not calling her names, but I'm not happy right now. I know you fly back today, and I'll come over in 2 hours to drive you to the airport, but I don't want your mother to go, and I don't want to see her." I remained for an additional 3 days before returning to Jamaica. Caleb had received an offer from the hospital to settle outside of court. The offer was $650,000, but we settled out of court for $900,000, leaving me with $450,000 after taxes and Caleb's expenses. That might go a long way. I said my goodbyes to everyone but Olivia before boarding my jet for the new chapter in my life. Life was good. I refurbished my modest cottage and purchased a second-hand Jeep. I proceeded to run on the beach and lie in the sun. I sometimes received letters or postcards from one of the kids. Caleb once sent me a letter. He kept me up to speed on the latest news. My divorce had gone well, and I was finally free. Olivia had won both of her court battles, with the hospital paying $4.5 million and Derek Peterson charging $1 million, which he couldn't afford and had to declare bankruptcy. Good for Olivia. She was prepared for life and would not have to worry about money. Caleb also claimed that the home had been sold, and the majority of the furnishings had been put into storage. There was no news on Olivia, where she was living, or how she was doing, not that I really cared. She had harmed me twice. There would not be a third time. I heard from Emily approximately once a month, and she always called me an idiot and told me not to worry about Olivia. I was scared that Emily had given up on me. Michael Jr. was not very good at keeping in contact, but I wasn't concerned since he had a busy social life. Several glorious months passed, and I slowly started to feel human again. I wanted to be with a beautiful lady again. Only a few miles distant were the island's major commercial zones, which housed many of the resorts that have made the island renowned. Many middle-aged women visit resorts for a variety of reasons, but they all have one thing in common: they desire sex. The resorts have dances 3 or 4 times a week, and it's uncommon that I don't find a nice-looking lady to spend the evening with. This is often preceded by a lot of dancing and drinking. So I found myself having more frequent sex than usual, and without the aid of the small blue tablets. I understood that my fitness and nutrition must have had a significant impact on my improved sexual power. This is how I met Sophia. Sophia, an investment broker, needed a break from the stress of the stock market and the daily pressures of making people money. We danced the night away and drank copious amounts of wine when she asked me to take her outside for some fresh air. We strolled down to the beach when she just turned and kissed me. We talked, and I discovered she was staying at the resort for a month, so I suggested showing her around the island, and naturally, we ended the tour back at my bungalow. To put it mildly, sex with Sophia was awesome. Sophia, who was 39, had never been married or had children, and had never found the right man. She wasn't sure about children, but she did want to find the right person and settle down someday. Sophia spent the entire month with me in my bungalow, only returning to the resort for more clothes. We never declared our love for each other, but there was an undertone that portrayed that message without us actually saying it. Her 30-day vacation was coming to an end, and neither of us wanted to spoil the mood by talking about what would happen when she left. The night before Sophia was due to leave, we moved her back into her room at the resort. Sophia quickly saw something was wrong and questioned me. I merely answered that I had seen my ex across the room having improper sex with her boyfriend, who I had hoped had vanished. I told Sophia I needed to say something to them, so we approached their booth. "Olivia, I see that my suspicions were correct, and you never stopped seeing this asshole." Olivia pulled Andrew away and quickly began smoothing her outfit. "Andrew, what are you doing here?" I inquired. "I live here. Have you forgotten? You told me your affair was over and you never wanted to see this creep again. What's going on? Was it all lies?" Andrew, Olivia's former employer, had been sitting there till now, simply listening. Sophia, clearly terrified, rushed to hide behind me as he stepped out of the booth, towering over me at 65 and 250 pounds. "You must be the weak spot. You were divorced, so who Olivia sees and what she does is of no interest to you. Although, I will remind you that we have never stopped banging." Yes, I suspected it. However, I dislike being lied to and tricked. My witch of an ex-wife has been doing this. We were in love once and would never have lied to one another. I can only blame you for altering the lady I loved. Your actions caused both your and my marriages to fail. The term scumbag does not adequately describe the anguish you have caused. I should have seen it coming, but I didn't. He laid a haymaker on me, and I was completely knocked out. He helped me up with one hand and continued hitting me with the other. Sophia, standing behind me, sprayed him with pepper spray, something I didn't even know she carried. Andrew didn't stop his assault, although he was temporarily stunned. Sophia was wearing Jimmy Choo stilettos and took aim, kicking him square in the balls with the point of her shoe. The next morning, after regaining my senses, I was interviewed by the police, who asked if I wanted to press charges, to which I naturally said yes. Sophia was holding my hand and had been with me all night. She was barefooted and looked like she had been in a tornado. I asked her what happened after he knocked me out, and she told me. I replied that he should not have messed with my woman. Sophia glanced at me and said, "Am I your woman? I didn't want for it to happen, but I have fallen in love with you, and I would be proud to have you as my lady. The last 30 days have been the most memorable and joyful period of my life, and I've never had so much fun or felt so at ease with anybody. I must admit that I have also fallen in love with you. Please remain with me and do not return to your old life and job. I am not wealthy, but we would be able to live well without having to work again. I love you, but I need some time to think about giving everything up." Part of me replies, without hesitation, "Absolutely, but there are certain issues I need to resolve before making that commitment. Can you understand? Take as long as you need. You know where I live." Sophia kissed me and left. As she had a plane to catch, I felt as if the second love of my life had walked away from me. I remained in the hospital for many days. Andrew was out on bond but may face prison time, so I packed a tiny bag and went to Denver to meet my lawyer, Mark, who was delighted to see me but horrified to learn that I had been battered. "Jim, what brought you back to civilization?" he asked. "I need legal guidance. Do you recall when I got a modest compensation from the hospital?" "Yes, it was for $750,000. Why?" "I was wondering, since Olivia and I are still formally married, if she gets half of it under community property law." "Yes, legally she is, but her settlement totaled $4.5 million. Why should she desire half of yours?" "I'm not sure whether she's interested in my settlement, but I want half of her money." I was completely satisfied with her having it since I believed she had ended her romance with her ex-boss and agreed to all of my terms. However, I just found that she continued to visit him after we parted and prior to the divorce. In fact, she still sees him. I want some of her blood right now. I instructed Mark where to contact Olivia, and that afternoon, he flew to Jamaica and personally gave the papers to her. He later claimed that she practically wet herself since she had already spent a big chunk of her settlement money, and she reluctantly signed the check. I remained with Emily and her husband and told her what I had uncovered. Emily said she was curious, but Mom had denied seeing Andrew. I asked whether she was sure Olivia was going to the counselor or to meet her boyfriend, and Emily didn't know. Mark returned the following day with excellent news. Olivia had grudgingly agreed to divide the money, minus her half of my payout. I assume I squeezed every drop of blood that was possible. When I returned to Jamaica, I saw Sophia sitting on my terrace. She went up to me and said, "If you can stand me, I'm here to stay. If you can endure an elderly guy, will you give me the honor of marrying me?" Without hesitation, I said, "Yes, yes, 1,000,000 times yes." Sophia and I married on the beach in Jamaica, with both of our children and several of Sophia's friends there. We were financially stable and maintained our carefree beach life. Derek Peterson, who had spent a year in prison and faced a gloomy future following his release, was now a criminal, destitute, and divorced. Olivia, who had squandered most of her settlement money, had to return to work and was never able to build a long-term relationship. Thank you for watching. Do you believe Olivia could have salvaged her marriage? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe.